Welcome to African Voices platform. My name is Chiwe Chihana. Our guest today is an extraordinary creative leader, an artistic director, an all-around kingmaker and queenmaker in the world of theatre. I'll be doing injustice if I went on and on about this introduction because I'd really love Mojisola Kareem to do most of that talking today. Mojisola, welcome to African Voices Platform TV.
Thank you, Chiwe. It's lovely to be with you.
It's
Thank
lovely
you for
to have
having
you.
me.
No, thank you for making the time because I know you're a busy person. I wondered whether we could just start from the basics of Utopia Theatre. You've built quite an inspiring entity. You've created a space. You've delivered so much well-recognized theatre. What is the incentive behind it? Who is Mojisola that's brought all those things to the world?
I guess, yeah, Mojisola is a human being that's kind of driven by the idea that we have to build legacy. We have to think about the next generation. We have to pass on our culture, our heritage, our way of doing things. We have to pass it on to the next generation. And when you think that a lot of young Africans or people of African heritage who live in the diaspora have no first-hand experience of Africa. The vast majority are born here and they have parents who are quite disconnected from their own heritage, then you almost feel like you kind of have a mission. I guess just the same way that a pastor would feel like they have a
faith
mission, exactly,
yeah.
to evangelize, then I feel like I have that mission to say I've been blessed with having been raised by my grandmother who's exposed me to a kind of really nuanced way of thinking about your culture, about your heritage, about your language, why you need to retain it, and why, and this is why I really totally admire someone like Ngugu wa Thiong'o about his beliefs, about language, and that's why if you see some of my productions, people would freely speak the native language, and it's not about trying to translate that to the white audience, because the reality of it is they will understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Language is not just about words, it's also about how you kind of embody those words and how you deliver. And I've never had anyone come to me before to complain and say, oh, that your production, all the songs are in Yoruba and I didn't understand.
No.
Instead, they loved it.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's about legacy. It's about what do we leave behind.
Yeah.
There's a general feeling in this country that that black people don't build things to last.
Yeah.
Everything is always kind of like very temporary. And I think we need to change that narrative. We need to pass the baton on to the next generation. We need to build to pass over, because that is where wealth lies. Wealth lies in things that have been built for a very long time with that kind of legacy in mind.
Wow, I feel very empowered already, and we haven't gone far. So what I'm also hearing with that is identity matters, and so if you have been born elsewhere and you haven't had anything that validates your identity, then you are lost. But you are helping us and other younger, I mean, not us, because I think I'm quite comfortable in my African identity, but people who've not had that experience to have a valid identity. But how do you balance your roles? You're a creative director. I mean, you're the founder of Utopia Theatre, but also you show up as a grandmother, as a mother. How have you been balancing those roles? And you do it so well, I think.
I balance those roles by making sure that I don't fill my life with anything that is not necessary. So my life is kind of packed to the brim, but packed with things that I feel are relevant and important to me.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't entertain anything else outside of that. So Utopia obviously is a really important part of my life, and I spend a lot of time trying to build that organization to the point whereby the next person who takes it over is able to build on that legacy. But family is also very important to me. My children are they're my life, really.
Absolutely.
My children and grandchildren are my life. So I spend a lot of time. That is, and my belief around children is this. Mm-hmm. Children are the only people that you're connected to in a way that they haven't asked to be brought here.
Wow.
So everybody else, there are relationships that you tangle yourself with on earth. Mm. So for example, a husband, a partner, a whatever,
a friend.
These are all, I'm not intrinsically kind of like, what word am I looking for? In a way that I haven't brought these people here. I'm not totally 100% responsible for them.
For them.
But for the children,
you brought them.
I've brought them here. They've not asked to be here.
Yeah.
I've made a demand to the spirit world and say, I want a child.
Yeah.
And I brought that child here. So for the life of that child, I am responsible for that child. And whatever children that they give birth to, I am also secondarily responsible for those children. So for me, that's where my priority, my first priority lies with
the children.
My children.
And Utopia is another baby, I guess.
Yes.
Because you chose that baby. You
exactly,
made that baby.
Exactly.
And let's just talk about that beginning, because you were a lawyer. You were trained as a lawyer. How did you transition?
So my transition is a very strange story, actually, because it's one that is, I guess, is tied to this whole idea of doing something that you don't really want to do.
Yeah.
So when I was growing up in Nigeria, when I finished my secondary education and I was about to apply, there's something they call JAMB. It's just Joint Admission Matriculation Board is the name of the organization. Mm-hmm. You have to do some kind of exam in order to get to the university. And I wanted to do theater arts. But then there's a section on the form that you have to get your parent to sign in order before you submit.
Yeah.
And when I gave the form to my dad was like, oh, no. Nobody, nobody in our family does anything like that. What is that? Theater arts? What's that? No. You're not doing that. You're not doing that. Anyway, so eventually I then applied to do law and English literature because, again, even at that time, I loved reading.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I remember just thinking, if I can't do theater arts, if I at least go and do anything to do with English lit, that I can just spend 3 years in a university just reading, that would just be such a, that wouldn't even be kind of like trying to do education. That would just be like having pleasure for 3 years.
For something that you really want.
Exactly. So I applied for that. So I then got admission. But the whole idea in my own head was that during that time, I would swap to then go and do theater arts when I get to the university. But unfortunately, the university that I went to, theater arts was so popular that there was nobody dropping out for anyone to be able to swap over. In fact, they had more people on the waiting list to try to join the theater. So I didn't. So when I got to this country, I came here in the 80s. After finishing my first degree in Nigeria in English literature, I then came to the UK and then studied law. And then I started working as a lawyer for many years.
Yeah.
And then I got to a point where I was just seriously delusioned with that role, because a lot of the people who come to lawyers, they never really come, especially our community, which was the vast majority of people that I was dealing with. They never come to you for advice before the problem. They always come to you after the problem. So
Very
nobody,
reactive.
exactly. So in that role, nobody would come to me and say, Mojisola, I am leaving Nigeria now, but when I get to the UK, I want to make a claim for asylum, so that you can say, okay, by the way, these are the rules. These are the rules that you need to meet. When you get to the port, these are the things you must say and not say. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but no, instead, they set off from wherever they need to set off from, they get to the UK, they get locked up somewhere when things have become quite dire, and then they get in touch with you and say, and by the way, and I'm also very ill, and also this has happened and that has happened. So it's quite intense. And
yeah,
I think I got to a point in that career where I just couldn't switch off. I couldn't switch off at all from this work. And I started to drink, and things just kind of, things just kind of spiraled to a point of kind of like serious depression in terms of just really being able to kind of cope with that kind of work-life balance, because a lawyer in those circumstances is no longer just a lawyer. You're their, these people that I was dealing with, you're their everything. So you're their social worker, you're their family counselor, because on top of all these other problems they have that is legal, they've got other problems.
Health.
They've got problems of
Food.
health, food,
Shelter.
family, children, maybe
reunions.
maybe a child gets taken into care, maybe some problem happens in school. So you're dealing with multiple problems that, and because the vast majority of them are Africans and people that you can associate with as, oh, this could be my brother, oh, this could be my sister, you can't disassociate yourself. It's no longer work. It's become like
personal.
A whole heap of people that you're responsible for on many levels. They can call you in the middle of the night. They can call you first thing in the morning. So it's kind of like, so I remember then speaking to a friend of mine who was an actor, and I was saying, oh, I'm having this issue with this work. I'm thinking of giving it up. Ah, you're so blessed, just doing what you would love to do. And he just turned around to me and he just looked me right in the face and just said, you can also do the same.
Almost like, what's stopping you?
Exactly. Yeah. He just said, your children are grown up now.
Yeah. So what's
they're
stopping
in uni. You've only have one left home. There's nothing stopping you. Just apply. And I remember just thinking, I really can't do that, can't I?
Yeah, it's not right.
I really can't do that. And that was how I applied.
Yeah. Okay. You applied to
York St. I applied to York St. John. Yes.
Oh, so you actually went back to school to do it. Rather, I thought you were trained on the job. Because, you literally went back to school.
I literally went back. I was probably about 40 at the time. 40, 41, 40. I was in my 40s.
Established Utopia when you were 40.
Yes.
Just because that's what I remember from my conversations with you. Yeah.
So I went back to drama school. My youngest was doing A-levels at the time, so I just went back. I was the oldest person in that year. I was in the university with majority 18-year-olds and 20-year-olds, but it was the best time. It was one of the best times of my life.
Because you were doing what you wanted to do.
Exactly.
Because you're doing what you wanted to do. I didn't realize that the law you were practicing was in immigration.
It was.
So we have a lot more in common, I think, in our transitions, because I started from the immigration sector, working for Northern Refugee Center. But what I did find funny about your story is that ask me about every single person of African heritage who sat in your seat who has not told me their parents wanted them to be a lawyer, or engineer or medical doctor. I mean, we all have similar stories, I think, on that one. But let's come now to where you are. You moved Utopia. When you established Utopia Theatre, you were in Leeds, I believe, and then you moved to Sheffield. How has that growth been? What moved you to Sheffield, and then where are we now? What do you think that has done for your work?
So Utopia was actually launched. The launching was actually in London. I was in London before
Leeds.
I was in London when I set it up, because I went to do a piece of work there, and then I got in touch with a few people that we were at university together, and we did a production that was like the base of the forming of the organization. So I then attended. I was still living in Leeds though at the time, so I was kind of doing a lot of commuting back and forth from London. And then I came back to Leeds one day to attend one of these Arts Council meetings around diversity and what's happening in the industry and all that. And somebody in the crowd introduced me to Anna Bentley, who is currently our Arts Council relationship
manager. Have you been with Hannah
manager.
Bentley for that long?
I have.
Oh,
And
God.
the person said, oh, meet Mojisola, who just started this theatre company, and she's based in London. And she said to me, she said, why are you based in London? Why are you living in Leeds? And so I explained about how I had written letters to every single artistic director in the north of England, and the vast majority of them have not even replied. And I said, it's just so difficult in the north to make this network and connect with people in a way that could start off your career. But in London, that it's just so easy. The doors are everywhere you go. I mean, people are bending over backwards to give you an opportunity.
Wow, yeah.
And that the opportunity is there. I couldn't leave and come back to Leeds. And he said, well, we're just going to have to fix that, aren't we?
Hannah Bentley.
Yes.
Well done to people
She
like
said,
that.
exactly.
Yeah.
She said, we're just going to have to fix that. And the following day, she wrote to all of these people, and I got an appointment with James Brining at Leeds Playhouse that same week. That same week, Iyalo Dioveti, a production of The Duchess of Malfi, was programmed. It was programmed there. Off of the back of that, it was programmed at Sheffield. It was programmed at Cast in Doncaster. And that was the first Utopia tour. That's how we got to Sheffield. Sheffield Theatre saw that production, and off of the back of that production, they invited us to be a resident company. That's the
Just
journey.
like that.
Just like that. Just one phone call,
One
one
person,
email,
the
one
right
person, the
person.
right person,
In the right place.
saying,
Wow.
and all she said was, James, I've met this lady. Her name is Mojisola. If you meet her and speak to her, you would understand why you need to speak to her.
Thank goodness for people like
Yeah.
that. Yeah. Did you set out to be an actor, or did you set out to be an artistic director all along?
So the university that I went to, you have the option of being both. So you have the option of being a director, of being an actor. I just really loved the process of directing at that university. I directed 3 productions whilst I was a student, and one of them won an award. So it won the Best Student Director award at York Theatre Royal. And then I got a 6-month internship. So in a way, my career as a director, I think, was formed off of the back of that award, that recognition itself,
Yeah.
and that work experience, that kind of mentorship at that time allowed me to think, you can't do this. All you need sometimes is just that kind of, I know you don't need the validation, but other people watching something, seeing something in you that they think is worth you being given an opportunity, then it's so easy for you to then empower yourself from then on and go,
Yeah,
I can do this.
You run with it.
Exactly.
Run with it. You run with it. So that's very interesting. That's how it came about. How did you transition? Was it African theatre that you set out to do, or is that something now, because that's what Utopia is famous for, significant for as well?
So I set out actually to just be a theatre maker. And I was very much interested in just theatre generally. But then the production that I did that launched the company is called Shepherd's Chameleon. It's a theatre of the absurd. Okay. And I remember one of my friends coming to watch it, and he just said to me, he said, Mojisola, I said, this production is brilliant and everything. He said, but I was just wondering, you speak Yoruba fluently. You know so much about the continent. He said, all your white director counterparts are making this type of production that you're making. He said, why do you want to join them? Why don't you do something that you can bring something different to people? And I remember thinking, that is true. And that's how. That was the inspiration for me to think, yes, there's no one else doing. And truly, around the country at the moment, there's no one that is doing the work that Utopia is doing.
No. I mean, this is so. I know I was kind of giggling when I was saying kingmaker, queenmaker, but you are really in that sector. You are a kingmaker, queenmaker. You're well sought after. But from what I'm hearing from you now, there's also me understanding that passion you had for literature had already informed at least some of the principles and the applications that you'd be applying anyway in the African theatre space. And Wole Soyinka is somebody you admire. Literally, we have a whole room dedicated to Wole Soyinka in the theatre. Walk me through that. Walk me through that. What does he mean to you?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I don't have words to describe
Look
what
at
that.
your eyes, they're smarting.
Yes. I don't have the words to describe what that man means to me. All I can say is that when I read his writing, I feel like the words are making me dance.
Oof.
They're making me dance. They're making me sing, and I can't put it down.
Wow.
It's like dancing poetry, but also it just brings back to me all of everything that is rich in our culture that colonialism is trying to destroy.
Oof.
All of the things that we should treasure, all of the ideas, all of the ideologies, all of the philosophies of our people is all wrapped in his writing. They are so powerful and so potent. There aren't many plays that you can read and you can want to reread again. Most plays are plays. They are only alive when you bring them alive. Wow. Directors bring them alive.
Absolutely.
Half of the time, and I'm saying this for a fact, a lot of plays are dead on the page.
Yeah.
People have sent me scripts before that I read it and I go. But then I read it a second time and I say to myself, if this is done to it and that is done to it, and none of these things are on the page.
It's what is you inherently you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's what is inherently. Sometimes there are writers that would see what a director has done with their plays and they would go, I never even saw that play in that way. I never thought that he could do that. But Wole Soyinka's writing is not that.
Like you don't even have you just see it and you can see it play out.
Yes, exactly. It's so visually stunning, but also the writing. In fact, I don't know anyone that writes like that. I've not read anyone that writes, and I'm not the only person that said that. People say, sometimes people will say to me that you better not judge people on the basis of what you know of Wole Soyinka's writing.
But you've read
because
enough
if you
to
try
know.
exactly, because if you try to have that level of expectation from other playwrights, then you'll be so disappointed. Because the reality of it is, people like Wole Soyinka were writing at a time when there were no distractions.
They could focus and embed and immerse.
Exactly. They can go in the forest and feel what leaves feel like.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean? So when they describe like the traditional ritualistic way of life, they've experienced it, they've seen it. Half of the time now, most young people, even if they go and watch something like a masquerade, their phone is in there, they are more interested in capturing that moment
rather
than actually observing and experiencing that moment.
I hear you so well.
How many people now actually get up in the morning and sit outside somewhere and just look in the skies and just see how the skies play out?
The energy that's happening right now, yesterday the person who sat here used that same line. I tell you, this is crazy. But it's so true.
But it's so true.
It is very true. My closest thing to that is when I go outside, I'm in Zambia, I leave everything. I actually feel like when I carry my phone anywhere in the world now, I'm carrying the whole world as I know it. Like everyone I know is in that thing, and so I do not like it. But I can go out in Zambia and I can still see butterflies in the same way I saw them when I was a child. But I have to go to the rural side, and there's a difference in the city, and nobody really gets to understand how important those little details are. But let's go back to Wole Soyinka. You had him at Utopia Theatre physically. At first, we had him. Was it Africa Day when we broadcast in, or was it to celebrate the play? But he came in person. How are you feeling about all that? How in that moment now, is it believable?
It feels surreal, but I'm one of those people that believe that if you want something to happen, you can actually make it happen.
Ooh.
If you want it to happen. So before Wale Soyinka came, I remember telling some of my production team about how Wale Soyinka is going to come when we have Death and the King's Horseman. And they would look at me like I'm crazy.
Wow.
Like, what's she talking about? How's she going to do that kind of thing? But in my head, I'm going, so what I would do is, so there's a big frame of Wale Soyinka picture right in Utopia. Every morning, I would do a ritual and speak to him.
Wow.
As soon as I walk in,
Yeah.
I would speak to him every morning, and I would tell him, "You are coming."
I'll see you soon.
Yeah.
I'll
You
see
are
you soon.
coming.
I was
told
there
him
when
this
you
on the day.
unveiled the. I think I was hosting that event where you unveiled the actual.
Yes.
Maybe not. But
I think you were there. You were there.
yeah. But it's believable. I will say I have worked with you, and it's believable because you were saying, Chiwe, let's put in this funding bid. What we want is to have young people come into Utopia Theatre, want to do an academy. Chiwe, let's do a creative hub. Now there's a crisis. People can't act. Creatives can't access venues. It's COVID. And all those things I have seen come to pass. So I believe you. You have the academy now, it's running, and the creative hub and the space. Talk us through that. And also, I see you've got quite a lot of things on here that people, so this is the academy side of things as it is now. What's going on currently, and is your vision actualized?
It is. It is. We have young people. So when the Youth Academy started, we started with one young man. His name is Eddie. And I remember, again, a lot of the team thinking, oh, but it's only one person. I don't think this is not going to work. I don't think Sheffield is ready for this and all this. I said, even if it's just the one boy that turns up for the next 6 months, all the facilitators that we've paid for, they would attend and they would support that one boy.
Yeah.
And that one boy was the only boy, Eddie, was the only young man that turned up for a whole week. And 2 facilitators were there. One of them was brought in from London, Juwon Gungbe, was brought in from London. And eventually, now, there are over 25 young people
that
regularly,
are regular.
We have more than that.
Yeah.
Regularly attending the Youth Academy. And what we've now done is we've now formalized it in such a way that there is now a timetable of events as it happens. We now have regular volunteers supporting, and we also have a summer program now whereby the young people get to visit the theater, they get to go to the museum, they get to experience different activities. So it's more than beyond what I dreamt it to be.
Oh, great. Wow.
I watched some of those young people that started with us, like Eddie. Eddie's still with us up till today.
And growing with you.
And growing with us.
Yeah.
So I watch all those young people, and sometimes it brings tears to your eyes to think that we've managed to create a space like that where they can come in, they can learn more about their heritage, they can learn more about their culture, they can feel valued, they can see people that look like them and aim for the skies, really.
Absolutely. And I personally just get wowed every time I remember that when you launched the academy, you actually launched it into soft ground because you didn't have a premises. It was soft ground, a whole other premises. Now you have your own space that people come to, and it's the Creative Hub. So beyond just the Youth Academy, the Creative Hub is also churning out talent after talent, hosting events, open mics. What was the vision there, and where are we with that now?
So the vision for the open mic was a way of audience engagement, really. So one of the dreams for Utopia that is being actualized at the moment is we not only want to be an African diaspora theatre company, but also we want to be a company that is a part of the landmark of Sheffield. We want to be embedded within the history and the culture of Sheffield to the point whereby we're going from the inside out. So if you remember people like the Beatles, you mention the Beatles, people think straight away Liverpool.
Liverpool.
So for me, that is the vision for Utopia Theatre, that you mention Utopia Theatre and people think, Sheffield.
Hey,
Utopia
that's
Theatre, so if people wanted to maybe go for an excursion or go to visit Sheffield, one of the landmarks, they're going to go and visit Sheffield Theatres as one of the landmarks. They're going to the Winter Garden, but they're also going to Utopia Theatre. So they're also going to Utopia, So that is how I see it, so that even when the company is touring nationally, internationally, its base and its roots sits within Sheffield.
And we love a Sheffield story here on African Voices platform. Where we are now with Utopia Theatre, that direction, you got recognized as a national portfolio theatre company, and that's on the back of so many good productions, but you're also doing more productions. And I see you trying to ensure that company is running whilst you focus on your artistic side. Congratulations, you just recently hired a deputy artistic director.
Thank you. Yes, thank you very much. Yes, so we've just taken on a deputy artistic director, again, part of our plan for sustainability, for strengthening the organization, but also for thinking about the future. Because again, one of the things that a lot of organizations fail to do within theatre is to think about, well, not the big ones, but the smaller organizations tend not to think about the future, about what happens, because when you have a founding artistic director, there's a lot that sits in that person's head. There's a lot that sits with that person, really, in terms of the journey. Like you said, it's your baby, so there's just a way that things are done. So part of this appointment is an opportunity to have somebody that the artistic director can mentor for a period of 5 years. So the idea is that as I basically start to win the company off the founding artistic director and create a space that allows for other people to take on responsibility and take on the running of the organization.
And I can see that being, again, another thing that you've manifested, because I have heard you say, I need to win this dependency on me as the artistic director. Shall we start talking about productions? And before we do that, though, talk to me about the Inclusive Aging project that you are doing a charity run for. I think that's very important.
So the Inclusive Aging program is a group of people, mostly over the age of 40. They're about 40 to... In fact, when it started off, it was about 40 to 90. But I think the oldest person that we have now, the oldest person that we have now is 70 years old. And basically, the project itself came to us from the University of Sheffield. The elderly people were brought to us so that we could create some workshops around kind of creatively engaging them with ways of dealing with the subject matter of aging and what it's like for minorities and anyone really that is facing other challenges. At the end of the project with the University of Leeds, we realized that we had actually encountered a group of people that had a whole range of challenges, either in terms of loneliness. We realized that most of the people that were coming to Utopia Theatre every Monday, that is the first time they meet another human being in the week. So we were providing hot meal. We realized that some of them, that is the first hot meal and maybe the only hot meal they're going to have that week. I think sometimes in this country, everybody tends to be so focused on their own lives that that whole sense of community is lost, to the point whereby we don't really realize that there are people around us that don't have the opportunities that we have. There are people that, if they are now retired and they don't have the opportunity to come into city center for work, they're just there at home. So the vast majority of the people spoke about how this opportunity to come to Utopia Theatre once a week breaks their routine of watching the television, breaks their routine of sitting by the window, just trying to watch people pass, because a lot of them have disabilities, they're elderly, and then there's also the financial factor, obviously, with the way that things are with the economy. A lot of people can't heat their homes, so they come to Utopia Theatre. It's a 3-hour session that involves either writing. So they've done a lot of poetry writing. In fact, there's one of them, Monica, that is a writer. In fact, she writes for one of the local press. She writes a section in one of the local press. And I think what's impressive about it as well is it's a whole range of people from different parts. So we have people who are of Irish heritage who've been here for a very long time. We have people who are of Afro-Caribbean heritage, different parts of Africa, but also different parts of the world of people who've come as asylum seekers. So from Yemen, so for people who are donating to this cause, I need them to understand what they're donating for. They're not just donating to pay facilitators. Utopia Theatre is paying for that. They're donating to pay people's travel expenses. Even the moment that project from the university ended, where we said, okay, we will continue to do the food, we will continue to do the session. Right. The moment that we couldn't pay for an interpreter, 3 people have dropped off. And the rest of the people have but it's because there's no interpreter that could Utopia, straight away Utopia is now having to dip into his reserves and go and find an interpreter in order to ensure that those 3 people are able to join the group. If you take away the food, straight away, some people would drop off. Exactly. Yeah. If you take away the travel expenses, straight away, a group of people would drop off. There are people in there that they don't have that issue. In fact, some of them have even donated. Some of them themselves have donated to the program in order to ensure that some of the people who have either financial challenges or because for the people who have disability, taxes have to drop them off there. Right. So every single penny that people contribute to this would allow that program to continue. You would support somebody being lonely. You would support somebody having to end up with the NHS. This is some of the things that I say to councillors within the City Council, that you don't value or take regard for small organizations like Utopia Theatre, but the amount of money we save you in the NHS,
and also
in
just
mental
what you're giving,
exactly.
It's valuable. Mojisola, so for this one, when people donate, you've got a marathon that you're committing to, but people should continue beyond the marathon.
Definitely.
So they just need to go onto your website, onto the Utopia Theatre, utopiatheatre.co.uk, and make that donation. Okay, very good work that you're doing there.
Thank you.
I wish we could spend just a whole lot of time speaking about that at some other point as well. I would love to get more into that one. Let's talk about your productions. I think next you've done so many. Death and the King's Horseman. In Sheffield, you've done the community theatres. Let's talk about what's coming up before we lose the focus of the future. So we'll talk about the past later.
So this is what's coming up. It's Crown of Blood, and it's an adaptation of Macbeth set in Yoruba land. This is the first time, as far as I'm aware, that that's ever been done, and it's been adapted by a writer that I've worked with before, Oladipo Agoloaje, that you know well. He's an amazing writer, and he's written something quite incredible. Right. We have a week of research and development that's been supported by the National Theatre in London, so we'll spend a week working on it. Okay. It's one not to be missed, because it's a spectacle.
When does it run?
It runs in Sheffield from the 2nd of February up until the 7th. It's a week.
And it's at Sheffield Theatre.
And it's on at Sheffield Theatre.
So people just need to go to the Sheffield Theatre's website and look for
Crown of Blood.
Crown of Blood.
Crown of Blood.
Brilliant. That's great. And I also know that one of the plays that you directed, that's written by a Sheffield-based actor from Rothenbilly Theatre, John Rothomak, is also doing a mini tour. Congratulations to you guys. You produced something great there. So what was it like on that one? Because that's starting It's imminent, isn't it?
It's
September.
imminent, yes,
It's imminent.
September,
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. How do you feel about your work? I mean, these are Sheffield stories that you have really contributed to. How does that make you feel? Like, what's your thinking on that one?
It feels great because John was one of the first young people, I would say, that I mentored in Sheffield. So I remember his very first directing debut. I had to be the outside eye supporting with the growth of that. And then he invited me to watch the research and development of Far Gone, which I then supported in directing.
Yeah.
So it's been, for me, again, it's all about that kind of passing the baton. It's about supporting other artists within the city with growing whatever seeds of ideas. And we have a number of other people at the moment that we're supporting in the same way that I have supported
I saw,
John.
there's a young lady, I think, that you helped recently. She's having a production in that little theatre in Netheridge, right? What's her name? There's somebody you worked with who was in one of
Sarafina.
Maybe it's Sarafina. Has she got a production coming up?
I'm not sure.
You're not sure.
Yeah.
Maybe it's not
The person,
Sarafina.
is Victoria has had a production at the university, and we're supporting her with. So it's a production, it's a play that she's written with two other women. So we're supporting her with that.
Okay, I see.
Victoria Marriott.
I was going to go, when we talked about the marathon you're running, I was going to go into a whole playthrough about your health because you're such an advocate for good living. But let's do some rapid fire questions before we close off. Unfortunately, we've got a very short time. A rapid fire questions. A theatre production that changed your life?
A theatre production that changed my life. Death and the King's Horseman.
Oh.
By Wale Soyinka.
A song that motivates you as you're training for the Lisbon Marathon?
A song. It'll have to be an Asha song.
What's an Asha song?
Asha is a Nigerian musician.
Yoruba, Asha is an artist.
Asha is an artist. Yeah, she's an artist. And it's one about soldier. I can't remember the title of it though. It just goes to, I just listen to these things. I don't really think about.
It doesn't have to be Utopia Theatre, and I hope it's not, because that's a given. But what's your favorite cultural space in Sheffield?
My favorite cultural space in Sheffield. I just have to say
Pass.
Pass, yeah. My favorite cultural space in Sheffield. Yeah.
Okay. In Sheffield, apart from Sheffield Theatres, what is your dream collaboration for Utopia Theatre?
My dream collaboration for Utopia Theatre. It will have to be the National Theatre.
The National Theatre,
Yes.
that's your dream collaboration.
Yes, that's my dream collaboration, yes.
Oh, brilliant, Mojisola. And your legacy as you head towards that part of the life where you say you need to leave a legacy behind, what do you want your legacy to be?
I want my legacy to be a Black organization that is telling stories that matter to people. But not only that, but that is a showcase for the excellence that Black people are, the tenacity, and the way that we've gone through so much in the world with our history. But whatever happens, we just manage to find a way to thrive.
Wow, I love that. Can I just say thank you so much, not just for being an inspiration to many others, but to being a personal mentor to me. Thank you so much for the input that you're giving to me as well. You're pouring to me a lot. And thank you so much for joining us on African Voices platform. We hope we welcome you again soon.
Thank you so much, Chiwe. Thank you. Thank you for being a supporter and advocate for me, for Utopia Theatre all these years. You're such a valued person to us. Thank you so much.
Oh, bless you, yeah. That was Mojisola Kareem, the artistic director and founder of Utopia Theatre. Thank you so much for joining me on African Voices platform.